as it relates to Tropical Storm Nicole. I'll issue some brief remarks and then I'll turn over to Captain Stephen Russell, who would introduce the leaders of the relevant government agencies to give an update on Tropical Storm Nicole. After the speakers, then we'd have a question and answer period. Early on today, myself and a few cabinet ministers were briefed. We had a full cabinet briefing later on this evening. The Prime Minister has been briefed by the Acting Prime Minister, I. Chester Cooper. Statements were made with regards to the closing of schools and government buildings in affected areas tomorrow, full closures, and also around 12 o'clock. Those information will be disseminated will be reinforced, and we'll take questions after that. I'll turn on now to Commander Stephen Russell, who will introduce the speakers for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Leroto. Colleagues, media, good afternoon to all, good evening to all of you, and good evening, Bahamas. Again, as the Minister mentioned, we had a series of briefings throughout the course of the day, appraising the Cabinet, the Prime Minister, in terms of the state of readiness of the country for the approaching storm. I have a series of our technical officers here this evening to further enforce various aspects of those presentations to share with you, the media. I want to share one thing with you before I start calling our series of speakers. All of our shelters in the areas, under the warning areas, they'll be activated tomorrow as of 0900, that is 9 a.m. in the morning. Our shelters will be fully activated in those areas. We have plans and motions to evacuate persons from Grand Key as well as Sweden's Key and to bring them into the mainland out of potential harm's way. And that plan of action will be activated as early as 9 a.m. as well in the morning. So shelters and evacuations, they will take place as of 9 a.m. tomorrow. We urge persons in those areas where we are deeming areas to be evacuated, we strongly urge persons, once the teams come to evacuate them from the area, please move with the teams. Once the teams would have departed, they're not coming back for persons who have changed their mind in the process. Thank you on that matter. We look forward to your cooperation during that evacuation exercise tomorrow. Again, our first speaker to present you on the update on Tropical Storm Nicole. I have a team from the Department of Meteorology. Mr. Green, can you come, please?
Good evening, everyone. At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday the 7th of November, 2022, Nicole was located at 26.7 degrees north, 70.8 degrees west. That's 378 miles east of Hopetown, Abaco, 440 miles east-northeast of East End, Grand Bahama, 372 miles east-northeast of Harbor Island, Eleuthera, and 420 miles east-northeast of New Providence. Nicole is moving towards the northwest at 8 miles an hour. Maximum sustained winds remain at 45 miles an hour. Winds of 40 miles an hour extend outward up to 310 miles. Some of the impacts expected from the passing of Subtropical Storm Nicole is storm surge, which can raise water levels by as much as 3 to 5 feet above normal tides along coastal areas. Rainfall amounts of 2 to 4 inches is expected, with localized higher amounts of up to 6 inches across the northwest Bahamas from Tuesday through Thursday. Formation of waterspout and tornadoes are possible during the passage of Nicole, and we expect that to last until about Saturday because of the trailing thunderstorms that will be around after the passage of the storm. Coastal erosion of Atlantic exposed beaches with hazardous waves and swells will affect most of the northwest and portions of the central Bahamas. So flooding is likely along coastal areas as the storm passes through the northwest Bahamas. In terms of timelines, we expect that the storm would affect the Abacos in terms of tropical storm winds as of Tuesday evening. And the same is for Grand Bahama. That will be at 11 p.m., late that evening. For the Berry Islands, we expect tropical storm conditions around the evening of Wednesday morning, 12 a.m. Bimini, they should start receiving tropical storm force winds around 5 a.m. on Wednesday. And New Providence should start receiving tropical storm force winds at 2 a.m. on Wednesday. So we are warning especially the boaters that they should have already secured their vessels. If not, they should secure them before the passage of the storm. We know that as the winds increase, that would be a more difficult task. So we're asking everyone who has a boat or to moor them and come safely inland. Other impacts, they would be from any of the storms that are passing through the central islands as the storm travels towards the west. So we have other isolated cells that would most likely affect the central islands as they move towards the west, the rain bands. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Green, from the Department of Meteorology. I'm going to call on the Executive Chairman of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, Mr. Alex Storr. As you're aware, the DRA still have coverage of recovery in the disaster zone of Abaco and Grand Bahama. Mr. Alex Storr, please.
Good evening, everybody. We have begun contacting our contractors in the affected zones, especially those in charge of the debris management sites, to make sure that those sites are secured and that we don't have a situation where we have missiles and other debris littered about caused by the hurricane. We have also begun contacting contractors, and we work closely with the Ministry of Works to make sure that there's a coordinated effort, should there be a hit, that we can have any debris, any other obstructions cleared as quickly as possible. We have also been contacting through our database persons that are living in RVs and domes on private property in the affected areas. We strongly advise against anybody staying in those domes and RVs during the passage of the storm. And as a matter of fact, our teams went into one of the RV sites today and, after speaking with residents, encountered some resistance on persons that did not want to move. I will say this, especially those in Abaco that are in RVs, you know what a hurricane can do. You have seen the effects. You are living in the RVs because of what the last hurricane pass did. You do not want to face, even though it's a Category 1, you do not want to face a hurricane in what is basically a tin can. And I'll put it bluntly like that. I think that Captain Russell spoke earlier today about a next of kin form for you to fill out. Do not take that lightly. If there's a direct impact of a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane with 45+ mile per hour winds, you do not want to be in either the domes or in the RVs. And so we strongly recommend that you evacuate. The shelters will be open in the morning, or if you have family members or another place that you can move to, please do that as soon as possible. Do not wait for the last minute, and do not attempt to stay in the domes or RVs, and then when the hurricane comes, you want to put emergency service at risk because you're calling for rescue. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Chairman Stoll. And I call Acting Director of Local Government, Mr. Neil Campbell. Campbell, sir.
Thank you, Captain Russell. Good evening, Minister, colleagues, members of the press. All 33 local government Family Island districts would have had their disaster consultative committee meetings between yesterday and this afternoon. Areas that are said to be impacted, those being the islands of Grand Bahama, Abaco, Berry Islands, Bimini, the Grand Key, and Sweetens Key. They all report multiple sources of communication, albeit sat phones, VHF radios with varying bands, police trunking systems, along with the government-issued cellular phones. There are no emerging concerns after our last briefing, other than what was suggested earlier, where there was a concern in reference to a satellite phone being available in the Berry Islands. I could say of all the concerns that were advanced by the various Family Island administrators, once we would have spoken to the minister responsible, the Honorable Miles Loroda, seemingly all of those problems were resolved. The first being the satellite phone that was sent into the Berry Islands this afternoon and was received by the clinic there. Also, there are plans on the way with ACP Dames, if the airport schedule allows, for us to send another sat phone into the administrator tomorrow morning. Also coming out of the Berry Islands, we have Coco Key that is going to loan us 3 portable generators for the duration of the storm. And members of the public today in the Berry Islands were also advised by the local leadership there to remove themselves from the low-lying areas and move to the other areas that are deemed to be more safe. In Grand Bahama, we are coming out of East Grand Bahama, first of all, where the population is between 351 to 500. And with Sweetens Key with 45 individuals, which we understand now that they are about to be evacuated. The evacuation schedule thus far for East Grand Bahama is given by the chairperson there, our administrator, Mr. Gilbert Kemp. It advises of the boat schedule being for Sweetens Key, Grand Bahama at 9 a.m. The bus schedule that'll be leaving McLeanstown, Grand Bahama will be at 9:30 a.m. Pelican Point, Grand Bahama at 9:45 a.m. and High Rock, Grand Bahama at 10 a.m. Bevanstown/Gambia Point and Freetown, Grand Bahama at 10:15 a.m. and Smiths Point, Mathertown, Grand Bahama at 11 a.m. Those are the evacuation schedules for the East Grand Bahama district. We also note that the Maurice Moore Primary School is a shelter of choice for the East Grand Bahama residents, which has a capacity for 400 individuals. In West Grand Bahama, we're very thankful for our leadership team there, and they are diligently about They would have checked the district, and at this time we have no serious concerns. In North Eleuthera, the administrator, Mr. Stephen Wilson, is advising that there may have been a challenge or concern by way of fueling beyond the hurricane point. And again, with speaking to the minister, that seemed to be being relieved almost immediately. So we understand that a truck with fuel is on its way to North Eleuthera, just in time before the closure of the glass window bridge. Also, in the Abacos, our administrators in the 3 districts are also working together. They would have checked the drains and other things as the protocol dictates, and there are no concerns at this present time. On another point of note, there were 3 resignations in the local government system, and we were due to have by-elections this Thursday. Evidently, or God would have it, that South Eleuthera will not have an election as no one offered themselves, so hence our minister will have to do the appointing. And in Cat Island, only 1 person nominated, so the person automatically takes that seat, that vacancy. And in San Salvador, where the system will not seemingly be affecting, they will be having an election this Thursday, the 10th of November. The writs would have been issued on the 18th of October. Nomination day was on the 25th, and the election follows on the 10th of November. Our overall checklist of government property, drains, medical supplies, animal care and release, odors, hotel properties, all yielded favorable results. And with the swift water rescue teams, they're now in ready mode once the need arises. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Director Campbell, for the update. For Social Services, I'll now call on Andrea Newbold, the Chief Welfare Officer from the Department of Social Services. Newbold, please.
Good evening, everybody. Shelter managers are on standby for activation of shelters in all the affected area as of 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. The updated shelter list for Grand Bahama is as follows. Bethany Baptist Church, Hannah Hill, 8 Mile Rock. Bethel Deliverance Center, Jonestown, 8 Mile Rock. Calvary Temple, Small Chapel, Clive Avenue, Freeport. Central Zion Baptist Church, 8 Mile Rock. Church of God of Prophecy, Pinedale, 8 Mile Rock. Church of God of Prophecy, Seagrape, 8 Mile Rock. First Baptist Church, Columbus Drive, Freeport. Revelation Face, Apostolic International, Jobson Avenue. Foster B. Pestina Hall, Christ the King, Special Needs Shelter, East Atlantic Drive, Freeport. Maurice Moore Primary School, Sandcombe Drive, Arden Forest, Freeport. Central Church of God, Coral Road and Pioneers Way. First Holiness Church of God, Young Husband and Shipton Drive. Outreach Temple, OEC, Pioneers Way and Fawcett Lane. New Olivet Baptist Church, Holmes Rock. New Life Worship Center, Coral Road, Freeport. Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church, Sandcombe Drive, Freeport. Thank you.
Thank you, Newbold, from the Department of Social Services. And I call on ACP Shivago Dames from the Royal Bahamas Police Force Communications Unit.
A very pleasant good afternoon and good evening to all. The Royal Bahamas Police Force has completed its preparedness. Our communication network, inclusive of satellite radios, both in New Providence and the Farm Day Island, have been tested and are in a ready state. We've had a meeting with our Farm Day Island commanders in those affected areas, and they have assured us that they are in a ready state. However, Andres and Grand Bahama is in need of a satellite phone, and we have already dispatched a satellite phone to the airport to be sent to Grand Bahama and Andres first thing tomorrow morning. We will activate our command center at police headquarters at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and so that we can be able to respond to anything that comes our way reference to this hurricane. Once again, all of the Royal Bahamas Police Force communications network, inclusive of satellite communications, have been tested and is in a ready state. The Royal Bahamas Police Force stand ready, willing, and able to assist as need be. Thank you.
Thank you, ACP James. From the Airport Authority, Mr. Nicole Davis, the Director of Family Island Airport Department. Mr. Davis, please.
Good evening, all. The Airport Authority has closely monitored the development of Tropical Storm Nicole, which is forecast to impact the following islands: Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, the Berry Islands, Eleuthera, New Providence, and Andros. In order to safeguard our staff and passengers, we have decided to take the necessary measures to close the following airports effective Tuesday, November 8, 2022 at sunset: Grand Bahama International Airport, Linden, Pinland International Airport, Leonard Thompson International Airport, Morris Island Airport, Sandy Point Airport, Treasure Key Airport, South Bimini International Airport, Great Harbor Key International Airport, Governor's Harbor International Airport, North Eleuthera, Rock Sound International Airport, and San Andres. These airports will remain closed until the 10th of November 2022, or subject to the all clear by the Bahamas Meteorological Department to resume safe operations. After the passing of the Tropical Storm Nicole, assessment teams will be sent out, and if all is in order, the airports will reopen by 1 p.m. Thursday, November 10, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Peter Rutherford, the Managing Director of the Airport Authority. Sir?
Good evening, everybody. Further to Mr. Davis's update, I would just like to advise that we've seen an uptake in travel for LPIA as of this afternoon. LPIA will resume normal operations until the end of business day tomorrow. Now, that being said, any members of the public who wish to travel tomorrow should check in with their domestic carriers to make sure that their schedules remain the same. So please bear that in mind as you make preparations to travel into LPIA and from LPIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. And I call on Commander Sonia Miller, Royal Bahamas Defense Force.
Good afternoon, all. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force Hurricane Plan has been activated. Leave for all Royal Bahamas Defense Force personnel has been canceled. All shelter managers, search and rescue, impact teams, EOC, and NEOC teams have all been mustered, issued their gas, and placed on standby. Our ships are making final preparations to deploy on hurricane avoidance by tomorrow morning, the latest. With the exception of HMBS Lawrence Major, she is presently taking on NEMA's dry food and water. Also, she is taking on heavy-duty equipment and operators, along with the Royal Bahamas Defense Force impact teams. HMBS Lawrence Major is expected to slip HMBS Coral Harbor Base by end of day, which is late this evening. Our BDF teams are already on the ground in Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Bimini. They are there to assist the administrators and the general public as necessary. Response teams are also here and are also placed on standby here on the island of New Providence. The Defense Force NEOC team is expected to close up at NEMA tomorrow morning by 0840 to assist with NEOC activities here at NEMA. Once again, I can say on behalf of our commander of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Commodore Raymond King, Defense Force remains committed and we're ready to assist the Bahamian people. Thank you.
Commander Miller, thank you so much. Antoinette Cumberbatch, Senior Nursing Officer, the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness remains in a state of readiness as it relates to disasters and in this situation, our focus is on the threat of the subtropical storm Nicole. As it relates to our clinics are relatively in good condition. Currently, Fresh Creek Clinic is under construction and they will relocate to the administrator's building pending the situation. The generators have been topped up with fuel and are operational. Satellite phones have been topped up with minutes and replenished. There are currently 34 satellite phones, 7 in New Providence and 27 in the Family Islands. There is adequate medical, surgical, pharmaceuticals, and vaccines in place. Additional emergency supplies were transported via air today. Alternative treatment sites have been identified in the event the clinics become compromised. Emergency plans and 24-hour duty rosters were compiled, and the various stakeholders are familiar with the plan. We have been in constant contact with our clinic administrators as well as our physicians and nurses in charge. As it relates to human resources, the medical teams as well as our ancillary staff is adequate in the proposed areas at risk. Emergency plans and 24-hour duty rosters were complied. Locally, our medical teams are on standby to assist in the event the need arises. This is inclusive of our IDA teams, which is the initial damage assessment teams, and we decided to attach mental health nurses to each team. Our relief teams, as well as our emergency response team and our EOC teams are also in place. Shelter managers for special needs shelters have been assigned whenever the on-call is given. There are currently 4 treatment centers in New Providence, namely Flamingo Gardens Clinic, Fleming Street Clinic, Elizabeth Estates Clinic, and Gambler Clinic. We are urging all of our vulnerable population, which we have listings for each clinic area, as well as the family islands, as well as our wider community and our colleagues to be prepared. Have your family plans, business plans, and ensure that each member knows the plan. Preparation is the key to mitigate against the system. We also want to say that we want you to stay safe, Bahamas. And in the event that evacuation is necessary, we also have a listing of all those persons who are in need of evacuation and also shelter accommodation. Thank you.
Senior Nursing Officer Cumberbatch, thank you so much for that update. Mr. Bradley King from the Ministry of Public Works and Utilities. Mr. King.
Thank you and good evening. The Ministry of Public Works is responsible for several very important functions as relates to disaster management and preparation in general and for this particular storm in particular. That includes, first of all, the security of government buildings. And in that end, plans and our offices in the relevant areas have already made plans and have secured our secure government buildings, and that process will continue to be put in place in advance of the impact of the hurricane. We also responsible for damage assessment, and those teams will be available and will be sent out as soon as it is safe to do so after the impact of the hurricane and the all clear is given, to travel to do the assessment, the physical assessment of the extent of damage, so that decision makers can have the information that they need in order to go out and respond with proper recovery and restoration efforts. We also responsible for clearing of roads and storm drainage. Teams are in place and contractors, we have made arrangements with them to deal with clearing the roads and storm drainage as much as practicable. You will understand that because of the way the physics work, certain things, there are certain amount of things you can and cannot do. But alliances have been made with private contractors to deal with the clearing of roads and storm drainage. And let me say in connection to that, I know that one very important item that's on people's minds is the glass window bridge in Lustra. Plans are being put in place to close the glass window bridge. The anticipated time is approximately 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And that will be, is being pursued. That's already been arranged. And of course, conditions change. If conditions warrant, it may be early, it may be later, but that's the target time that you can plan for to have the glass window bridge closed. The corporations, we coordinate with corporations. They all have their plans. They've all activated their plans, and they are ready and as they normally do in response to it. That includes not only the Government Utility Corporation, but also Rev Cable Bahamas. And so I just want to assure the main people that in terms of the infrastructure and the engineering aspects, we stand ready to respond. And of course, the Bahamas Building Code is always an ongoing mitigation measure that we have confidence in, we can have confidence in those structures that are built to code will stand. Those who don't, we support the recommendation that you evacuate. If you suspect your house is not up to standard, please do so. And beyond that, we just want to say that we will do what we can, all that we can, to see that from a physical and an infrastructural point of view, that the Bahamas is safe and ready to respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. King, from the Ministry of Public Works and Utilities. Again, I'll call on the Minister of State, Miles Saruda, who will give us some wrap-up remarks before we go into question and answers, please. Sir?
Thank you, Commander Russell. I would just like to say thank you to Commander Russell and the team at NEMA, and also the other government agencies who have been working diligently in preparing the country for this storm. I would like to thank the media for their coverage, but I would like to reiterate the statements that were made by the acting Prime Minister earlier on today with regards to evacuations. The Royal Bahamas Police Force and Defense Force have made arrangements to evacuate persons from the Keys or those vulnerable areas. I would like to stress again, when those individuals or those parties come, please make yourself available. The Commandant of the Defense Force and also the Commissioner of Police have given instructions to their employees, who are also citizens, while they provide a much-needed service to remove our citizens out of harm's way. There is a personal responsibility on individuals to make the job of those officers easier. Once that time has passed, it has passed. There is not going to be a redo. There's not going to be any exception made for individuals who would have changed their minds. We see what happened in these hurricanes, and we want to stress and stress again. Once the evacuation period has passed, it has passed. We pray for God's mercies. We ask our citizens to be vigilant. The government agencies are prepared, and we are a resilient country. We too will bounce back from this. But I just wanted to do two things: thank the agencies and also ask our citizens, especially in those affected areas where evacuation is required, to please make yourself available to be evacuated into safety. Thank you.
Minister Lagoda, thank you so much. Again, ladies and gentlemen of the media, you've heard from a full team of technical officers, including our minister and his remarks in terms of the state of preparedness of each of the respective ministry departments to make their efforts for a joint response as to how they respond prior to, during, and in the aftermath of this particular storm that is approaching us. They're now open for any of your questions. Please.
So obviously the Bahamas is very used to the passing of these hurricanes and the likes, but we heard a lot tonight about the response from the government perspective. Oftentimes there are persons who remain in their homes, and is there an update that you can provide, or someone here is able to provide, in terms of the resilience of communications networks like the Alliance and BTC and so forth, and even electricity?
Electricity, we can do electricity. Mr. Sterling Moss, please, on electricity.
Good evening, everyone. So the question with respect to resiliency of our electrical networks. BPL as an agency designs its electrical systems to CAT 3. Over a series of years, we've been upgrading our systems, and in particular, places like Abaco, post-Dorian and prior to Dorian, we have systems that have been designed to withstand CAT 5. So periodically, as we've had storms, we've been rebuilding our networks to withstand higher category storms. So Cat 3 and up to Cat 5. Hope that helps you, your question.
Thank you, Mr. Moss from BPL. We had a person from Alive here, but I think they would have stepped out. We'll try and get an answer to that too before early in the morning, okay? In reference to the telecommunications infrastructure, the resilience, and the redundancies that we have in place for communications. But we're happy between Batelco and Alive. They have some robust systems that were tested in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. So we're somewhat pleased with what they have brought into the inventory since Hurricane Dorian. But we'll definitely make contact with somebody from those agencies tomorrow to give you clarification and make sure you're satisfied in the question that you're asking, okay? Any other questions for any of the members? Shelters. They want to know the number of shelters that are on Abaco and Grand Bahama and those that will be activated companies. I know we mentioned it earlier, but I think she called. Come, please, in reference to the number of shelters in Abaco and Grand Bahama that will be activated tomorrow, and the total numbers.
We have a total of 12 shelters will be activated 9 a.m. tomorrow morning in Abaco, and that's in North, Central, and South. Grand Bahama has 16 shelters that will be activated tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
People still recovering and, not having houses or staying, do you believe that the amount of shelters will be sufficient for the people who maybe need to go there?
Well, at this point, we took in consideration the COVID pandemic, and Grand Bahama added more shelters than they had. Initially, they had 11, and now they added 5 more. We would like to have those gyms up and running, and so they'll accommodate more persons. Well, shelters are usually open for 3 days. Dorian has showed us that, we could even stay longer based on the intensity of the storm.
Do you anticipate that the storm will strengthen beyond Category 1 in Northern Bahamas?
So far, on the projected track, the storm is not expected to strengthen any more than that. In fact, earlier today, the storm was projected to be a hurricane as it crossed the Grand Bahama area. However, the further update, that system will now be out of the Bahamas when it becomes a hurricane near the West Palm Beach area of Florida.
And a follow-up question for you as well. We've heard about the 4 major islands, Abaco, Grand Bahama, and Bimini and Berry Islands, but we've also heard about New Providence, Andros, and Eleuthera being impacted. To what degree are the latter 3 expected to have impact?
Well, all of the islands will experience tropical storm force winds. The islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama will have stronger tropical storm force winds of around 58 miles per hour to around 73 miles per hour. So they have stronger winds there, but all of the islands will get tropical storm force winds of over 38 miles per hour.
And again, you spoke about those bands. So those bands will be reflective of those increasing winds?
Yes, we expect as the storm comes closer to us, we'll have more rain bands affecting us. And in those rain bands, you could have some severe thunderstorm activity. Yeah, so at times, you will have those storms passing through in the bands.
And then finally, in regards to flooding, of course, we know that caution is the order of the day, but in low-lying areas, here in Providence and other islands, should they be very concerned?
Yes, we are concerned for anyone in a low-lying area. If you know your area will normally flood, we're asking you to take all precautions. So if you have an area that will flood and flood your home, we'll ask you to go to a shelter.
And how much water are we talking about here?
2 to 4 inches of rainfall is expected, but localized maximums of up to 6 inches is expected in some areas.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for any member of the team?
If there's resistance to people who live in the area of evacuation, is there any intention for a mandatory evacuation order?
No, at this point in time, we're strongly urging persons to evacuate when the announcements are made to evacuate. Like I mentioned, as of tomorrow, 9 a.m., Sweden's Key, the Eastern Grand Bahama, and Grand Key, those are the areas that we have plans in motion to move as of 9 a.m. tomorrow. A person's refusing to move, once our team would have moved on, that's it for that exercise in those respective islands.
And a follow-up question for police in regards to those 4 major islands. Again, we've had concerns in the past of persons looting. And so during the passage of this Category 1 storm, what assurance can you offer to business operators that safety will be the order of the day?
Thank you for your question. Yes, safety definitely will be the order of the day, and I can assure the Bahamian populace that the Royal Bahamas Police Force will be up and about as the weather would permit. And so we want to take this opportunity now to warn those persons who may want to take advantage of the storm passing to loot and the likes, that the Royal Bahamas Police Force will be out in full force. And where do we find persons in breach of the law, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And so once again, the Royal Bahamas Police Force will be out there as much as the weather will permit us to be out there enforcing the law.
Is there any advice that you can offer to those business operators to ensure safety?
Yes. First of all, we want you to ensure that your business places are fully secured. Make all the necessary preparations that you need to ensure that your business places are secured. The officers will be up and about checking those business places in those vulnerable areas, those hotspot areas that we know about. And so please take every precaution to ensure that your business places are secured.
Ladies and gentlemen, any other queries or questions? Now, so my final point is we are part of the regional system, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, an arm of CARICOM. I was on a conference call with the team from the Med Department on a conference call at 1 p.m. this afternoon, and they've assured us that all the systems of the SEDEMA mechanism are on standby to support the Bahamas as they were done in the past. They were assured of us of that. And once a request is made for assistance, if necessary, they will dispatch all their resources to assist us as necessary. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our briefing this evening. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and have a pleasant evening.